welcome back. Let's see what I would have done, which again, doesn't mean it's right. It's just what I would have done to improve the performance of the website. Hopefully you had fun with this challenge. Hopefully there are some trick questions there that you had to kind of get through, but again, I'm sure everybody did great. So we talked about minimizing files, minimizing delivery, and critical render path. Those are the things that we focused on in this section. So looking at the Keiko Corp website, it's not too bad. Let's refresh it here just to get those animations in. Yeah. All right, I made the website, so I did cheat. I do know how we can improve the performance pretty well on this website because I made some things that were definitely not the prettiest. But you can see here, it's not a bad website for being what it is. It has some animation, some nice scrolling that we can do. But you'll also notice here that they're using some libraries that don't even work. So let's take a look at the code and see what I would have done to improve it. The first thing I would do is definitely look at the HTML file. And the HTML file over here, first thing that catches my eye is the massive amounts of style sheets that we have. We see that they have a ton, including Bootstrap, including transitions, carousel, animate, and obviously our main CSS file. If I look at those ones, I see that some of them aren't even minimized, so we probably should minimize those. But my first question is really, why do we need so many CSS styles? And do we really need them? Do we really need animate.css, or can we do some of those animations with just CSS animations and transitions that come natively? Again, you really want to focus on, do we really need this? Don't just keep tacking on different things just because it's easy to do. So again, I would definitely look into this and say, I could probably get rid of some of this. Then I scroll down and I see some script tags, and oh boy, there's a lot of script tags and they're all in the head, which definitely we don't want to do. We want to move all of these down to the very end of the body, unless they're super important. By looking at these, jQuery, carousel, parallax, scroll to, and nice scroll, well, we can definitely put all those down there. We also want to ask ourselves again, do we really need this? For example, scroll to, what it does, it's supposed to make us scroll to the part of the website that we care about, but you can see that it's not even working. So maybe we don't even need that. Again, looking at what you need and what you don't need. I then think about, maybe are these minimized? If they're not minimized, okay, this one is, but this one isn't. Perhaps we should minimize all of them. And then finally, combine all of these into one file. Maybe have one main bundle file and the rest are the vendor files, all in one. Again, minimizing our trips over the wire. And then scrolling down through here, typical HTML, nothing too crazy. Everything looks pretty good here. But again, let's review some of our points and see what we can improve on here. All right, so we talked about loading style tags in the head, loading scripts right below the body. All right, and then CSS only loading whatever is needed. We definitely talked about that. We didn't talk about above the fold loading. Again, looking at the website, we see that, well, we definitely have a nice scrolling website, but we don't need these images or any of these down below, especially the CSS. We only need the top part. So perhaps one thing we can do is actually add a style tag. Style tag, all right. It's really hard to type when you have a mic in your face like I do. Anyway, that's just a side note in case you wanted to know. With this style tag, I can have some styles just for the main part of the page that the viewer sees right away. And this way, I can just load my style sheets, like I showed you, after the page loads. And all the stuff below the fold loads afterwards. So that's one way. Another thing we can look at is the media attributes. Looking at this background image, it looks pretty big, and I bet it's not optimized for the mobile. So let's take a look at how big this image is. I'm going to open up the I can't talk. I'm going to open up the network tab with developer tools. And then I'm going to filter for images. And I'm going to refresh. And oh boy, that's a lot of images. I think it's the hero image. Yeah, there it is. So we see over here that this image is 1 megabyte. That's pretty ridiculous. We can definitely compress this and minimize this, and we definitely don't need that big of an image for a mobile screen. Also, let's take a look at all the requests that we're making on this page. Oh boy, that's 48 requests. We definitely don't need that many requests. By the way, this is how a lot of older websites used to work, and definitely not the best, I would say. All right, let's see what else we can improve here. We talked about the first three, but less specificity. In this website, they're not too bad with this, and this is one of those minor things that you don't really want to worry too much about. It does affect performance, but not to the extent of some of the other things, so I wouldn't worry too much about this, but I wanted to include it there anyway for you. We also talked about loading scripts, but we didn't talk about asynchronously or deferring those scripts. For JavaScript or for jQuery and all these other scripts that we didn't really need, we probably want to add an async or defer tag to them if we want to keep them around. We also want to minimize DOM manipulation and avoid long-running JavaScript. So let's take a look here. DOM manipulation, well, I think that's happening a lot, especially with all these animations that we see. Again, if we refresh, we see all the animations that happen here. We can definitely avoid some of this, especially using jQuery. The fact that they're using jQuery right now, let's take a look at some of the stuff that we do. The parallax, if we go to main, you see that they're using jQuery a lot. And that library is great. However, pretty much anything that you can do in jQuery, you can do with native JavaScript. I think there's a website called You Don't Need jQuery. Let's see. Or you might not need jQuery. And it actually shows you all the things you can do with JavaScript instead of using jQuery. So we can avoid using this massive library and just use JavaScript that comes with the browser. And again, we're using tools like Scroll2 or libraries like Scroll2 that is supposed to make our website clickable and scroll to that section, but it's not even working. So again, really testing out to see, do we really need this? And then finally, avoid long-running JavaScript. I don't think we have too much of that, but with animations, that can get pretty tricky. So again, things that you can improve on. And we're just scratching the surface here, but I hope you really had fun with this exercise. It was definitely fun making this website, and I'm really excited to see how fast some of these websites can get as I watch you post them into the community. But the key thing to remember here is that performance is a never-ending game. You can always improve performance of a website. You can always tweak that little thing. As a senior developer, you want to make sure that you spend your time wisely on things that matter. Figure out what's valuable for your client, for your business, for your boss, and do those performance optimizations, but only to the point that is needed. Because otherwise you're going to drive yourself mad. There's so many things you can do. Focus on those big ticket items, the key features, to make a website performant. I hope you had fun in this challenge, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye-bye.